Tiger Kung Fu, one of the many animal styles you may have seen, and one that contains 3 secrets that will improve your training. Whilst it's almost certainly a myth that Kung Fu originated from the observation and mimicking of animals, today there are many styles which use them as their inspiration. Within Shaolin, however, animal forms are a more modern development, used mainly for performance. The real secret of Shaolin Tiger lies in certain principles and movements that we're going to look at today. Shaolin is a very mobile style, not just with its acrobatics, but in general movement too. And this is epitomized by the principle shrink like a cat, expand like a tiger. The idea is that when retreating, you shrink as small as possible. This is likely how we get the name cat stance, or Maobu, since Shubu actually means empty stance.
By retreating back and making ourselves as small as possible, we get further away from our opponent, keeping us safe and preparing us to counterattack. Now, these low positions can be difficult for people to begin with because they generally have weak glutes, weak lower back, and possibly weak knees as well. This can make all of our stances difficult to begin with, especially these shrinking ones.
To build up to being able to use this principle, we can use the Patrick step, allowing us to work through a range of motion that suits us, gradually getting stronger and lower.
Stand on one leg, lift the other heel up, keeping the leg straight, back nice and tall, and then we're going to sit ourselves backwards, bending this standing leg until our heel touches the ground. And we can make this as hard as we like. The higher we lift the leg, the more we have to drop down before the heel touches the ground, and then we come back up again. With our knee, it's okay to go over the toes. Because we're doing this in a slow, controlled way, it's building that strength in the knee that's going to be able to take that, especially in those low stances like Shubu, where the knee does have to be over the toes.
This is an endurance exercise, so try to do around 20 reps on each leg a few times a week at the end of your training. Now onto expanding like a tiger. Think of a tiger leaping at its prey. We want to capture that explosive energy as we move around. Once you have a good Shubu, you can practice jumping back into it and then leaping out again to develop that springiness. But today, we're going to focus on the other end. Think again of the tiger leaping with its claws stretched out in front. When we see the opportunity for an attack, we neither want to have to position ourselves first, nor telegraph our intentions. By the time our strike gets there, the chance may have been missed. Instead, launch the attack as soon as you see the opportunity, leading with the hand, and then let your legs catch you.
You can practice this by starting in a neutral position. Make sure the lead hand moves first. Follow with the body, open up the hips, and then right at the end, catch yourself with the foot.
Start small and try to slide the foot onto the ground as the hand would land. As you get more comfortable with this, go larger and larger. Once you've mastered these movements, you'll be able to shrink like a cat, expand like a tiger, and retreat and successfully counter at will. Our next secret isn't that secret. I've talked about it before, but it is tiger-based. And once again, getting it right is going to drastically improve your Kung Fu, especially some of those high mobility movements. Pubu, also known as Fu Hubu, taming the tiger stance, can be used to leap around, but if you get the weight distribution wrong, the chances of hurting yourself go up dramatically.
When jumping like this, we need to keep our weight back so that our rear leg, which lands first, takes most of it. We don't want to be all the way back over this leg though, because that makes sitting down into the stance quite difficult. Instead, we want to be about 3/4 of the way across. If we think Mabu is dead in the middle, we go halfway to the rear leg.
This weight distribution also helps with our normal use of Pubu, making sure that we drop down and slide out rather than leaning forward and then sitting back.
A good way to think about this is dropping down into Dingbu, but with your leg lifted. And then as you get down, you shoot that leg out and your weight follows it.
Our final training secret uses black tiger movements, such as Hei Hu To Shin, Black Tiger Steals Heart, to explore the idea of intention.
Black tiger movements have 2 parts. The first is intended to distract or hide the second one, which does the real damage. Now these can be consecutive movements like in Hei Hu Toshin, or they can be concurrent like in Gombu Jada or in Shushin. When using concurrent movements for this, we need to be aware of intention.
Try the 2 separate parts of Gombu Jada on their own and feel how much power you can get. Now, try to get the same amount of power in both at the same time. You'll probably find that you can't. Whilst we can move our entire body at once, the focus of our intent is more limited. So we need to pick which part of our body we're going to put our intent into. For concurrent black tiger movements, this is generally going to be our main strike. Let's use Shishing as an example now. If I want to land a hard hook on my opponent, I can't also land a heavy strike with my lead hand. Instead, I need to use the lead hand as a distraction. It shoots out, encouraging them to cover up, only to be followed immediately by a hook which goes around their guard. If we move both arms in the same way, then we can get power in both, but then we're changing our strategy. So decide on your main method of attack, and either use a preliminary movement to hide it, or use an obvious but less powerful concurrent distraction. So there you have it. The real secret of Shaolin Tiger Kung Fu isn't looking like a tiger. It's about incorporating principles inspired by tigers and stories about them. If you're interested in learning more about getting power into moves that expand like a tiger, check out this video next on the importance of how you land your foot. You might just be surprised about the effect that it can have.